So I had the privilege of getting to watch Alien Romulus on opening night, and I happened to be in a relatively rural area, and I went and saw it at a pretty late showing. So I happened to have my section of the theater to myself, and I didn't have any spoilers going into the movie. I didn't watch any trailers of this movie going into it because I honestly don't tend to engage with the trailers even in the slightest, because that's all just marketing stuff. That's all stuff that's outside the movie that can change your perspective on the movie going into it and even maybe after it. But I don't really want to engage with the marketing. I just wanted to engage with the movie itself. And I gotta say, I am pleasantly surprised after being let down a couple times with Alien Covenant and slightly less so with Prometheus, because, I like Prometheus. I just wish it gave me a little bit more explanations than questions. But this movie, I feel, does a pretty good balance of that, of answering some questions that fans have had, while also opening up new questions. Now, this review is going to be a spoiler-heavy review, so, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie. I'm only making this here review because I was so pleasantly surprised that I felt the need to comment on it, because truly, I had lost all hope with, well, a lot of my beloved franchises, let's say. But this was something special, It's not like it's of Alien or Aliens quality. Some might even like Prometheus more than this one. However, I found it to be of a particular level that was more than the pandering nonsense that we've gotten with a lot of other movies lately, and more than just CGI noise. There was a lot of themes and symbolism and just layers in this movie, more so than people I think would have expected or people really even realize upon first watching. I happen to be a Alien super fan. I have all the media, and I mean all the media, and that includes Alien vs. Predator. So let me go ahead and get into my spoiler review. All right? So I'm just going to go bit by bit of the movie, and I'm going to spoil a lot of it because there's a lot that I've got to say. My most watched movie of all time is easily Aliens, followed by Alien. And I truly do love this franchise, and was very worried about where things were going to go. The oddities that came with Alien Covenant. All right, so as you know, Alien Covenant was, let's say, mixed in its reception. I'd say Alien Covenant was schlocky. It had some fan service, but also some weird elements to make it tie in to Prometheus that I think could have been handled way better. So, as far as Alien Romulus goes, I feel that this is a good return to form for the franchise. And what do I mean by that? The alien, the creatures, the organism, and the biology underneath the organism is treated with a reverence and a terrifying grace, I'd say, that makes you feel it had all the different elements of what makes something frightful. It had the terror, it had the gross out, and it had the shock. So let's just take this thing from top to bottom, all right? So the film starts well after the events of Alien 1, okay? The first Alien has happened, the Nostromo is gone. This is not a prequel or anything like that. So it was in the timeline that we all expected. It starts with our main character, Rain. You could call her this movie's Ripley, all right? She is a miner who is attempting to leave a colony world, being colonized by the company, the Weyland-Yutani company that we know and love. So she's been working for this company, busting her ass, and has finally gotten enough credits to get herself and her brother, a character named Andy. Her brother is not her biological brother. You could say he's adopted and is also not human. He is an adopted synthetic or artificial person, as he would prefer to be called, as really all synthetics seem to prefer to be called. So she wants to get off of the colony. It's a shitty place to be. Remember how horrible LV-426 was back in Aliens and Alien? But we got to see what it was like to literally live in it in Aliens. You get no sunshine, it's mostly dark all the time, okay? Your life is work. You literally live at your work, okay? You're colonizing a new freaking planet, all right? It's the farthest thing from sunshine and rainbows that you can imagine. And they really did a good job at the start of the film using practical effects and great cinematography and just really good sets, I'd say, to make you feel like you are trapped on a mining planet that is going to hell. So our main character, Rain, is trying to escape the planet, and she has essentially earned her way off. She's earned enough credit. I believe it was something like 12,000 credits, and the movie made it seem like she had been working for a long time, probably before she was even like a legal adult, to go ahead and, you know, get off this planet one day. We get the information that her parents died in the mines as miners, doing the same job that she is doing. And so you really get to feel for this person right off the bat, like, man, if you were in this person's shoes, you'd not be having a good time. You get this prevailing dread, this entrapment right off the bat. She proceeds to try to buy her freedom, and this was one of the most realistic parts of the movie for me, personally, in just how these corporations feel like they operate nowadays. Literally right in front of her face, they doubled the amount of time and credits that she was going to need to get off the planet. You know, you've got 12,000, we're gonna need 24,000. Sorry. Try again after you've done literally what you've already done again. You really start to feel for this person, and immediately when you start to feel for Rain, you start to begin to empathize with a synthetic, regardless of how you feel about the synthetics in the series. I don't tend to like them. I don't tend to like AI. Nothing in this video will use any AI for the video, for the footage, or anything like that, okay? So, but I really felt for Andy as a character immediately because of how brutal the situation was for him as well. And this synthetic is not like anything top of the line. This is clearly some either knockoff or something that is getting kind of dated or has been damaged in some kind of way. But, you know, the actor does a pretty good job of acting with a stutter for a large part of the movie, and basically doing a decent job at pretending like he's glitching out, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. Andy gets bullied a whole bunch simply because he's different, because some people know that he's synthetic, and Rain is wanting to escape this whole situation, get completely off the planet with Andy so that they could start a new life on a new planet where they can actually see the sun. So after getting rejected from getting to leave the planet, Rain gets an opportunity from one of her acquaintances, Tyler. Tyler, and apparently a bunch of others, have realized that a Weyland-Yutani vessel has drifted into this planet's regional space. And apparently this Weyland-Yutani vessel is largely being avoided. Like, it's been noticed by the government, it's been noticed by a bunch of others on the planet, but it has largely been avoided, but no one knows why exactly. And Tyler thinks it might be a good idea to attempt to board this vessel and commandeer it before anyone else does. The crew decide to steal cryo chambers to use on their journey to a nearby planet, a free system from Weyland-Yutani's grasp, and they can start their new lives. They board it pretty simply. Honestly, at this point in the movie, I was starting to get a little bit bored. Everything was going kind of smoothly. They made it off the planet, they made it onto the space station, they were exploring the space station, they find the cryo tubes that they want, and most of everything's going just fine. Until they realize that they need a little bit more cryo fuel than they anticipated. They decide to search for the nearest stockpile of cryogenics. This space station had some very specific uses for its cryogenics. You see, this space station was able to recover the xenomorph from outer space around the area where the Nostromo blew up. And actually, right at the start of the movie, there's a nice scene of them collecting a chrysalis or pupa or cocoon of an alien out in space. So seemingly it was able to secrete that resin that they were able to secrete and seal itself within it to wait out its time in space until it was found by this vessel. And this vessel is called the Romulus and Remus. It's called the Romulus Remus. I think there's some sort of mythology with the Romulus and the Remus, but I don't really know at the time of recording this video, and I'm just doing a spit take on this right now, alright? You're getting my raw thoughts here. So the Romulus and Remus was clearly dedicated to the recovery and research of the alien species, or mutagen, or whatever you want to call them, for quite some time until something clearly went wrong. We never get an explanation of what, which, funnily enough, leaves more room for even more sequels in the future. So on this vessel, they were clearly researching this stuff for a while and were able to mostly contain the infestation that ended up occurring into a single cryo room. A cryo room which our protagonist ended up inside of. And inside of that cryo room were several facehuggers. I mean, we saw dozens, I'd say, of facehuggers, all in these little storage container things, these little like stasis containers for the facehuggers, right? So this was a sophisticated operation that Weyland-Yutani was able to get going after the events of Alien 1. So after going into this room and removing a bunch of the cryo tubes, the room starts to warm up, and all of the facehuggers begin to wake up as well. A bunch of the cryo water begins to dissolve around the room and fills the room with a pool of water that's about ankle deep. And so the facehuggers start falling out of their little storage containers and wriggling around up in the water, just swimming around and bumping into people's ankles and just getting their bearings, because they plopped out they plopped out of the egg into the water after who knows how long in stasis, right? So they plop out of the eggs and are running around in the water until eventually they start jumping at people's faces. People are running around, everybody's screaming, everybody's putting their arms over their heads and their faces trying to figure out what the heck is going on. I thought one of our main characters, Tyler, was gonzo right off the bat when the facehugger was able to slip its little pee-pee into the guy's mouth for a second. I thought, oh God, was that even enough to do it? But no, that wasn't enough. But if it gets deep in there, it is enough to really get you, because as we see a little bit later with one of the characters that gets briefly face hugged, and then they figure out a really unique way to get the facehugger off. You see they use some of the cryo fuel to freeze the facehugger's tail without rupturing any of the acid, which forces the facehugger's tail to go limp, and then they are able to yank the facehugger, long ass face huggy pee-pee and all, out of Navarro, who was unfortunately impregnated before they got a chance to pull it off. To make matters even worse, the space station is now in a trajectory down toward the planet's rings, where it will surely be completely destroyed by contacting said rings. So the ship is now about to crash. They got facehuggers running around everywhere. One of the aliens has bursted out of the pilot of the ship that they used to take command of this space station. So they resort to upgrading Andy's firmware, Andy the android, Andy the artificial person. They resort to upgrading Andy's brain chip, taken from a messed up synthetic that they found in the ship. Once Andy is upgraded with this chip, he is able to help the crew a lot more competently than he was before. However, this competence comes with a double-edged sword. For now, Andy uses his new chip and his newfound smarty pants to begin figuring out a way out of the ship, and to do so and get more information, they revive the synthetic which was damaged and they found earlier. This synthetic is then revealed to be a Ash model, which is a lovely tie-in, in my opinion, to this time period in the Alien universe. So this Ash model, which was clearly the science officer for the installation, at first seems pretty helpful, okay, because they revive him at the time that their pilot is impregnated with the chest burster, all right, where he starts out as seemingly an aid to the protagonist, but devolves into an outright antagonist that is clearly only trying to serve, yet again, the best interest of the company. The situation seriously devolves from there, as the crew have to cross through the aliens' territory to escape the ship. This other synthetic, named Science Officer Rook, reveals that the alien organisms, the xenomorphs, are an extension of this black goo DNA recombinant mutagen that we have seen since Prometheus. And for the first time, I'd say, in the franchise, we have a pretty clear connection between Prometheus, in this regard at least, and the first Alien movie. Even though this movie happens after the first Alien movie, the resultant synthesis of this black goo, this genetic recombinant, proves that humans are essentially mimicking the science that was done by the engineers before the events of Prometheus, which I find to be an extremely wonderful tie-in to this part of the franchise. So for the rest of the movie, Science Officer Rook proceeds to attempt to manipulate the crew so that the mission of the Romulus Remus can be continued, which was, of course, based around the retrieval, research, and control of the xenomorphs. So Officer Rook attempts to manipulate everyone into unknowingly rescuing a xenomorph from the Romulus Remus before it is destroyed by the planet's rings. And this dynamic eventually brings the movie to a close in a really cool way after some more really cool set pieces. There was one in particular that had to do with anti-gravity and acid, and the acid blood, which was particularly creative, in my opinion. And I'd say the movie ends in a really cool way that I won't spoil here. You'll just have to either hear about it from another video or go see it yourself. And before I start wrapping this review up, a little more on Science Officer Rook. So, one thing that I really loved about Rook's design and implementation specifically was how they went about making him look like Ash. Because obviously, our lovely actor who played Ash in the first Alien film, Ian Holm, does not look young enough anymore to be a convincing replica of the Ash that we know. So they did use the kind of deepfake CGI face generation technology that so many have, cried uncanny valley at. Me included, I don't really like when they use this stuff. However, this time it really worked for me because this guy isn't a real person. This guy is a synthetic. And for me, this like hijacked my uncanny valley and made it look so absolutely real that this was a synthetic version of Ash. Like, this was a synthetic just like Ash that was particularly mangled and malfunctioning. And because of this, his face just looks kind of all twitchy and all over the place. And it is disturbing to look at. It doesn't make you feel good in your tum-tum while you stare at it, okay? But I think it was highly effective. Overall, I'd say that this is the third best entry in the franchise, just behind Alien and Aliens. I give those two movies 11 out of 10s because those are my two favorite movies of all time, I'd say. This is a comeback, decades in the making, a revival after the series has been lost in space, if you will, for quite some time. Okay? And I think you should absolutely go watch it if somehow you have listened to this review, this spoiler-filled review, and I've left plenty out still, but if somehow you made it through this far and still haven't watched it, you really should just go watch this movie. It's in theaters right now at the time of me posting this video, okay? It's actually good. I haven't gone out and watched any other movies this year except for, like, Deadpool and Wolverine and maybe one other, all right? And this one blows those other two movies out of the water. Again, I give it a 9 out of 10. It is close in quality to, I'd say, between Prometheus and Aliens. If you had to gauge the quality, it's somewhere between Prometheus and Aliens, right? It's not a subversive masterpiece like the first Alien was. I really do hope Ridley Scott keeps his producer pants on and gives us some more banger entries to this franchise before the old man croaks, because Ridley Scott is old. I don't know if you know this. This guy is old. And, the fact that he's still producing these movies, that he's still has a hand in these movies, is really incredible. I mean, obviously, he's not the director, because directing is honestly a pretty intensive task, a pretty physical task, so you can't be expecting Ridley Scott to be directing these things anymore, but I would say that, is it Fede Alvarez? I've only read his name, I've never heard it. Fede Alvarez? I've read his name several times. I've never heard it. So if I'm mispronouncing it, sorry. But Mr. Alvarez, I think, did a bang-up job. Okay, I think Mr. Alvarez and Scott Free Productions should continue collaborating. And I think they should continue to be allowed this R-rated autonomy from the witches who run Disney. Okay, if they are allowed to continue to make films with less studio interference, because I gotta say, I did enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine a fair bit as well. Not as much as this film by any means, but I did enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine because they actually went for the R rating, and they went for being able to criticize the money behind the project. All right, the bureaucracy behind the project should not be beyond criticism, and it's not in Deadpool and Wolverine. I'd say it's not in this movie as well. I'd say they went for the hard R rating with this. Okay, they did not shy away from blood. I'm pretty sure there was like a blood waterfall at one point, which was just lovely. Okay, they did not pander to China to make this a super successful film in the Chinese market, all right? So this is I'd say super, what many would call anti-woke, very based, very grounded, perfectly valid entry to the franchise that one who enjoys these movies, even if you only enjoy Alien and Aliens, I think you're gonna like this. And normally I don't like to bring critics or Rotten Tomatoes into the picture unless it's talking about the audience score, because I do not value the critic score in the slightest, but I highly value the audience score. And as I'm finishing this recording take, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes audience score for Alien Romulus, and it is a exceptionally solid 87% right now. So, you know, you gotta celebrate good movies where you can, right? We've only had a few wins in recent years, right? Godzilla -1, okay? Alien Romulus, I'm counting. Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm counting. All right, I'd say the last Guardians movie was good, okay, and you know, a handful of others. We've only had a smattering of good franchise films, and I dare to say that Alien Romulus is a good franchise film. And if you look at the audience score, you will also see that people are enjoying this. So if you see some hate out there from like Nerdrotic or some super popular YouTuber that probably is getting paid to, you know, swing one way or the other on reviews, don't listen to them. Just go watch the movie and decide for yourself. Catch a matinee if you don't want to spend too much money, and then decide for yourself. I caught this thing in IMAX and was front row center and had the whole row to myself, and the whole front row in front of me to myself, and the whole back row behind me to myself, because I live in bumfuck nowhere, and I absolutely loved the movie. I loved the experience, and I think a lot of other folks will as well. Now, I'm seeing a lot of reviews online, just all over the place, from seemingly older Alien fans, which I'd say I'm a middle-aged Alien fan. It seems that a lot of the older Alien fans really don't like the age range of the characters, and, you know, they have every right to, but honestly, it would have been extremely distracting to have any old person in this story. Like, everything that the characters had to do was highly physically demanding, and, you know, your bones wear out. Your bones fall apart eventually, okay? It's gonna happen to you sooner or later. You're gonna get gray. Your DNA doesn't perfectly replicate itself every time that your cells do, all right? Those imperfections will add up. You will die, all right? Get over it. That's the vibe that I get from this. It's a lot of people that are uncomfortable with their age juxtaposed with the age of the people that are in the movie. You know, the people that are in the movie are a bit younger than me, and I do not care, because, you know, it's a good movie. If you don't like young people, you get to watch them get ripped apart and acided to pieces for a full 2 hours, a crisp 2 hours. So if you see a bunch of that sort of detraction, I would completely ignore it. Just go look at, again, the Rotten Tomatoes audience score tends to be a pretty good guide. IMDb is also not so bad. You know, IMDb, I think it's hovering between like a 7.5 and an 8, something like that. I'm guessing for the weeks after this video comes out, the Rotten Tomatoes score is probably going to hover between 80 to 90%, again, audience score. Really, this is a banger movie. A lot of great practical effects, some interesting CGI effects. The only CGI effect that wasn't perfect for me actually had nothing to do with what a lot of people didn't like about the CGI, which was the Rook stuff. To me, a couple of just the normal xenomorph just didn't quite land, and a couple shots of something particularly special that I'm not going to talk about, because I think it would lead to an automatic demonetization. Something very special happens at the end of this movie in a typical Ridley Scott style mini fourth act surprise, okay? That, you know, you will probably see coming because it is well telegraphed, but then when they put it on screen, man, whew. I'll say 3 words, okay? Alien Resurrection Newborn.
No! This is not how this was supposed to go!
Briefly, before I move on from, Alien Resurrection, if any film was to have been called Alien Resurrection, it should have been this film. They literally resurrect the first alien from the very beginning, 1979, alright? And, which proceeds to cause all sorts of ooga booga mayhem. And with Alien Resurrection in my mind, that movie was ass. We can all agree that movie was complete schlock from the top to the bottom.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
I still like it because I like Alien, okay? I like all the Aliens movies. I fully recognize schlock when I see it, alright, folks? And this here is not schlock, alright? It just isn't. It's got broader themes of corporate takeover, of monopolization, of, of what it's like to have the rug pulled out from underneath you. It's got, racist themes without, without beating you over the head with it. It's got tribal themes. It's got utilitarian themes, okay? They literally explore the whole train track dilemma throughout the entire film, which is a constant, utilitarian, communitarian, do you value anyone more inherently than anyone else kind of thing, okay? There's a lot more deeper stuff that's happening in this movie than people will give it credit for, okay? People will focus exclusively on the Easter eggs, which they're constant, all right? They are constant. If you're someone who, I guess, gets angry at callbacks, then that might upset you for some reason. But I feel like fans of this franchise just want callbacks because, we want more of the good stuff that has happened. So if you give us some more of the good stuff, we'll be like, cool, that was some good stuff. And that's exactly how I feel about this movie. I do not think it is a masterpiece, okay? There are some elements that I don't like, that I really don't like. And I'm just not going to talk about because of the weird, detractive sector online right now about this movie, because I don't want to prevent anyone from going to see it and not having a good time. Because I went and saw it with a completely open mind. Again, not seeing any of the trailers beforehand, not reading any of the reviews or anything, because I got in one of the first showings that they had. And I had an amazing time. So, as my first official review on this channel, which is not a review channel, I have no idea what this channel even is yet. I am so new to this. My first official review, and I'm not going to give half stars. I'm deciding that right now as I'm recording. I was like, do I give half stars or only whole stars? I'm going to give you only whole stars. None of this partial number bullshit, alright? This is a full fat, whole milk, no preservatives, no sugar alternatives, all sugar, all caloric, all day, pure rating. I give Alien Romulus a 9 out of 10. And yes, I'm biased. I am a biased Alien fan. As I've said, I give Alien and Aliens 11s out of 10. Alrighty everyone, that about wraps it up for this review. Go ahead and smash that like button if you agree. Feel free to dislike if you disagree. And feel free to engage with me in the comments below either way. Thanks for watching.